Welcome to F5 Distributed Cloud Platform on how F5 simplify and accelerate your cloud migration journey. I'm going to demonstrate based on this architecture. Let's say you have two data centers, DC1 and DC2. These two data centers can be active-active or active standby, or this standby could be a DR site. Let's say DC1 is the primary data center and you have an apps, and typically this apps accessible by users and being routed by a router to the application. This is a simplified and high-level view on how typically users accessing the application. In DC2, I only have a user but without applications on DC2. This app could be an internal-only app or an application accessible from internet by user. Please be reminded that once applications exposed to the internet, not only it is accessible by trusted user, but it is also equally accessible by any bad actors from the internet or malicious bot. This is a typical generic view of most organizations. Your DC can be set up as an active-active or an active backup. When it comes to cloud migration, let's say your organizations require you to migrate your workload to public cloud. This could be on AWS, Azure, or GCP. Probably you created those apps on those public cloud. These apps could be refactors of existing on-prem apps or rebuild, or potentially you leverage some kind of tools that allow you to migrate to those cloud. For example, converting a VM into a AMI or other equivalent cloud image. F5 Distributed Cloud is not a tool that perform the workload or image conversion or management of your workload on-prem or public cloud. It is not a cloud manager. It is a tool that helps to create a secure application fabric that's allowed you to perform seamless traffic migrations from site to site. Let's see how F5 helps in this. F5 Distributed Cloud is powered by F5 Global Network. It is a high-speed, secure backbone. This is where our point of presence for the SaaS. This global backbone is optional for transit, as you can leverage your own existing backbone for the transit. In this demo, I'm leveraging our F5 global backbone as a transit to various public cloud. First, you need to deploy the F5 mesh on all those sites that need to be connected. F5 mesh acts as the secure front door for the multi-cloud or site connectivity. Please note that connectivity between meshes are encrypted and secure. If you have a workload that exposed to the internet and would like to leverage F5 Distributed Cloud to protect it, you can enable F5 web application and API protection. Deployment of F5 mesh are simple and orchestrated from F5 centralized SaaS console. F5 SaaS console provides a single pane of glass for configuration, management, observability, and telemetry, pre and post the migration. This is a foundational piece that will enable the seamless cloud migration journey. There are various traffic migrations patterns or techniques. First, let me walk through a patterns called locality-based traffic patterns. As shown, you have user accessing the application. What needs to happen here is you change the flow of the traffic to F5. You can either delegate the respective domain to F5 or change your DNS CNAME or AIR records pointing to F5. F5 mesh is being set up to monitor the health of the application on-prem as well as in public cloud. In this scenario in AWS and Azure, traffic will hit F5 mesh, and based on your defined intent of the mesh policy, F5 will preference the local application than the remote application. This consistent policy push on F5 mesh on DC1 and DC2, where for user in DC2 that don't have local application, it will load balance to AWS and Azure, or AWS as primary and Azure as backup. It is all configurable based on your desired intent. For the migrations of traffic to public cloud, you can just switch off or power down the DC apps. F5 mesh will detect that, and subsequent user requests, it will send to AWS or Azure. If you migrate apps required to be accessible from the internet, you can publish your apps via F5 Global Network with WAAP enabled. Equally, the policy deployed on F5 Mesh can be applied on the F5 global network. Hence, traffic from Internet can be load balanced to AWS or Azure or set up as an active standby clouds. With WAAP enabled, bad actors or malicious bot will be dropped at the edge at our POPs. What happens if your migrated apps not working well and you need to roll back? Well, you just need to power up the DC apps and user from DC1 will be redirected back to the local copy. Let me introduce you another pattern called dynamic route injection, which is based on BGP protocol. Similar like before, user accessing the apps and then you alter the traffic flow by redirecting existing traffic to F5. F5 has been configured to monitor local apps as well as set up to load balance to apps in AWS and in Azure. When the app's ready to be migrated, you instruct F5 Mesh via a simple IP declarations to inject an application's IP address to the router. All these are orchestrated within F5. In this demo, F5 Mesh will inject host IP of 10.5.2.49, which is the IP address of the existing apps, to neighbors routers and attract that specific IP to F5. Indirectly, F5 is stealing that route. When the user accesses the local apps, router will send it to F5. From that onwards, F5 Mesh will distribute to AWS and Azure. This technique is simple and controllable by the administrator. Once the traffic hit F5, it is up to you or your desired intent on how you want to manage the application traffic. To roll back, you simply remove the IP declarations and router routes will be automatically removed and back to original state. Now, you have seen on how F5 helps and accelerate your cloud migration journey. You successfully migrated your workload to clouds. What's next? Migrating workload to cloud is only the first step of the journey. It is not the destination or goal of many organizations. Once workload moves to cloud, how you leverage cloud benefit to excel your business, how you protect your information asset, they are everywhere, how you increase your operational excellence, reduce operation costs, increase your product time to market, create values for business, and so on. Clouds allow business to accelerate and agile and move with the speed of competition. That's the goal of many organizations. So, what is the key takeaway? Migration itself is a complex undertaking. Workload distributed across many sites or clouds obviously not a trivial task to manage, operate, and secure. Complexities is the biggest enemy of security. Hence, simplicity of the architecture is one of the key success factors. F5 able to simplify your distributed cloud journey. You can't protect or manage if you can't see. You can't operate your infrastructure efficiently if you don't have sufficient visibility. Visibility, analytics, telemetry, and observability are important for operations and security during, while, and after the migration. F5 single pane of glass will provide this enhanced visibility and analytics. As mentioned, cloud migration is the initial step for most digital transformation journey. F5 Distributed Cloud is agnostic and is cloud or site independent. It's not only address the traffic delivery during migration, it also addresses various challenges on pre- and post-migration, security and operational aspect. It is a future-proof solution for you. Feel free to reach out to F5 for a live demo and further details on how F5 Distributed Cloud can help business to stay competitive with the ever-changing IT and security landscape. Thank you.